Well, hello and welcome to this third installment on our video series about membership and discipleship at Central Christian Church. The last 3 Sundays, I have been teaching or leading or facilitating a class, a group of people who have recently joined Central, and by recently I mean over the course of the past 18 months or so, since about the beginning of last year, the beginning of 2016. We've had great groups, we've had great discussions. It's been really enjoyable, really good experience to talk about what membership means, to talk about the value of membership, and to drill down and to really have some lively, interactive, and deep discussions even. And I guess I'll just, for this third installment, kind of get right into that, and I think you'll see what I mean, because this third one is about gifts and service. I said 2 weeks ago that a member is someone who supports the church with their prayers, their presence, their gifts, their service, and their witness. That first week was strictly about membership, trying to equate it to discipleship. A member is someone who follows Jesus Christ. Membership still has value. But laying out that definition, a member is someone who supports the church with their prayers, presence, gift, service, and witness. Last week was about prayers and presence, that you support a church by being a regular attendee and by praying for the church. This week, gifts and service. I said at the beginning of the lesson that this is perhaps the one that, well, in some ways sets the bar the highest, involves the most amount of investment and responsibility, time and talent and treasure are words we sometimes use in church world. That's the expectation for the church's members. That a member of a church is someone who gives to that church, because we're not like a nonprofit. We're not like a church in Europe that is state supported. We simply cannot do ministry. We simply cannot exist if the members of the church don't support the church with their tithes and offerings. And then supporting a church or being invested in a church through service means that we have leadership positions, we have ministry positions, and it requires all of us that you must get involved. That also is part of what sustains us and allows us to have life and to do ministry. But I said it kind of got deep because the very first thing we did is we did a Bible study. We did a Bible study, and the scripture that we took a good hard look at was from the Gospel of Luke. And the scripture that we spent some time on was the parable. Perhaps you're familiar with it. I won't read the whole thing, but it's the parable where it's called Lazarus and the rich man. And they both die, but the rich man goes to hell. Lazarus goes to be with Father Abraham. And the rich man sees Lazarus, who was a poor beggar while he was on earth, and wants to go there too. But it's explained to him that he can't. And he says, well then go and tell my relatives, go and tell those still there, so that they can change their ways. And he says even that's not possible. It's a fascinating parable, and as we said in the class, it's got a lot of meaty stuff, a lot of stuff for us to think about. But the reason I shared that scripture and wanted us to talk about that scripture for a few minutes in a membership class is because part of being a part of a church is this journey that we're all on. And one of the ways to understand that journey is that we are replacing earthly values with kingdom values. We are replacing what our society and what our culture values and thinks that is important and is the way to live with what God says is the way to live and how God says to order our affairs, make our choices and to base our attitudes and actions on. So if we are trying to replace earthly values with kingdom values, it means that even as hard as it is, and even in some ways how counterintuitive as it is with so much of our society, that yes, paying attention to the biblical mandate to give 10% of your salary, I almost slipped and said something I'll come back to in a second, giving 10% of your salary to your church is part of what it means to be a member. It's part of what it means to be a disciple. I shared with the class our summary budget so that they could see, as all our members see every September, what your giving goes towards and how the church is trying to be a good steward as you try to be a good steward. And I know it's a difficult discussion. I know it's a hard discussion. But I said, for me and my house, for me and my family, we tithe, we give 10% of our gross income to the church. Now, we support other things as well. Quite a few other things, actually. Habitat for Humanity comes to mind, Week of Compassion, things like that. But that's above and beyond. That's above and beyond. We believe God instructs that we are to give 10% of our gross income to the church, and so that's what we do. We haven't always done that. It's been a struggle. It's been a journey. As I told the class, I've even been a part of church staff where we were still working towards that. But now that we're there and doing all we can to remain there and be faithful, we do see the whole storehouse that God talks about in Malachi. Bring the whole storehouse to me, it says, and I will pour out riches more than you could ever imagine. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the general idea. And what I think that means is when we give to God, God gives back in ways that we can't even measure or imagine. It's the abundant life that Jesus talks about in John 10. So giving to the church, awfully important. Final thing we talked about yesterday was serving the church. I passed out these documents. One is the Central Christian Church Constitution. The other is the Central Christian Church Bylaws. I said they could take them home, and I know they'd read them as part of their leisure reading time. Kind of joked about that, but I passed those out because, well, for one, they spell out all the leadership positions: elders, deacons, trustees, board officers, ministry team leaders. We have a array of servant opportunities at Central Christian Church, not to mention Sunday school teachers and small group leaders, and youth sponsors, children's leaders. My goodness, there is, you almost have to work to not serve at our church and to not find a place to serve. It's critical, it's important, it's vital, just like giving to the church is, and it's what it means to be a member. It's what it means to be a member. Obviously, I've gone really quick in summarizing what we talked about yesterday and trying to share with you what it means to be a member. Parts 3 and 4, technically. The 5 parts are: you support a church, you're a member of a church if you support the church with your prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness. Next Sunday, wrapping up the course by talking about supporting a church with your witness. We're going to spend a whole class talking about our faith. I am pretty darn pumped about that. Love sharing these videos with you. I really, really hope they've been helpful. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can comment. If you're watching it on the church website, be sure and look around the website and learn more about our church. Feel free to email me or text me or call me if you have any more questions about church membership or really about anything. Thank you, and God bless you.